Hello, welcome to the channel. My name is Michael and I value true news. We talk about American football and specifically the Georgia Bulldogs team. If you like the video, subscribe and leave your like. Without further ado, let's get to the video. What can the offseason roster changes reveal about the Georgia football team in 2023? The transfer portal is closed and the window to enter the 2023 NFL Draft has shut. In all, the Bulldogs saw 10 players enter the transfer portal and another 10 players give up remaining eligibility to enter the NFL Draft. In all, the Bulldogs have seen 24 players from the 2022 team depart the program this offseason. Stetson Bennett, Robert Beal and Chris Smith exhausted their collegiate eligibility, while offensive lineman Devin Willock tragically passed away in a car accident on January 15. Georgia football players to enter the transfer portal. A.D. Mitchell transferring to Texas. Dominic Blaylock. Brett Seether transferring to Georgia Tech. Ari Gilbert transferring to Nebraska. Ryland Good. Jacob Hood. Bill Norton transferring to Arizona. M.J. Sherman transferring to Nebraska. Tresman Marsall transferring to Alabama. Jaheim Singletary. Georgia football players leaving for 2023 NFL Draft. Robert Beal. Chris Smith. Stetson Bennett. Jack Podlesny. Kenny McIntosh. Jalen Carter. Kali Ringo. Nolan Smith. Darnell Washington. Broderick Jones. Warren McClendon. Warren Erickson. Kyrie's Jackson. So with the roster turnover portion of the offseason largely behind us, the transfer portal will reopen from May 1st through May 15th and National Signing Day is set for February 1st. We have a much better idea of what Georgia's roster will look like for next season. Below are some thoughts on where the state of the roster as Georgia enters next season. Kirby Smart has said the Bulldogs won't lose as many players as they did last season, but they still have some key players to replace in the attempt to win a third consecutive national championship. Georgia football quarterbacks keep depth, gain help. Bennett will no longer suit up for Georgia this coming season. We knew that when he walked off the field for the final time against TCU. What we did not know was whether all three other scholarship quarterbacks would be back for Georgia. So far, none of Carson Beck, Brock Vandagriff or Gunnar Stockton have elected to enter the transfer portal. The Bulldogs will have an open competition to replace Bennett, and while Beck may be the favorite, Vandagriff and Stockton are certainly talented enough to win the job for Georgia. In addition to bringing all three quarterbacks back, Georgia's next starting quarterback got some great news in terms of what he'll be surrounded with. Georgia went out and added two wide receivers from the transfer portal in Dominic Lovett and Rara Thomas. Both led their respective teams in receiving last season, with Lovett coming from Missouri and Thomas leaving Mississippi State. They'll join Brock Bowers, Ladd McConkey and Marcus Rosemy-Jacksaint to give Georgia a well-established group of pass catchers. With strong off-seasons for Marion Smith, Dylan Bell and Oscar Delp, Georgia's next quarterback should have a very potent group of pass catchers. But the biggest boost to next season's offense comes in the form of Cedric Van Pran. He bypassed the NFL Draft, electing to return to Georgia for another season. In addition to anchoring one of the best defensive lines in the country, he'll provide invaluable leadership to whoever is taking snaps for Georgia next season. Van Pran is entering his third season as a starter and has seen just about everything an opposing defense can throw at an offense. That's an invaluable resource to have for a first-year quarterback. Georgia football defense should more resemble 2021 unit. The Bulldogs have some major pieces to replace on this side of the ball. Gone are All-Americans in Carter and Chris Smith. Ringo and Nolan Smith played big roles as well, though Georgia already has experienced life without Smith given his season came to an end in the win over Florida. But other than those four departures, the losses on defense were minimal. Both starting inside linebackers returned in Smail Mondon and Jamon Dumas-Johnson. Carter and Norton were the only two defensive linemen to leave the program. Georgia brings back experienced linemen in Zion Logue, Warren Brinson, Nez Stackhouse and Tramel Walthour in addition to high-upside options in Michael Williams and Bear Alexander. The secondary also has a healthy mix of experience and upside. Javon Bullard, Malachi Starks and Kamari Lassiter all return as starters, while the battle to replace Ringo should be fierce. Perhaps the biggest question mark is who steps in for Chris Smith at the other safety spot. Georgia did go out and add Smoke Bowie from Texas A&M, with Bowie having the versatility to play either safety or star. The position with the most uncertainty is outside linebacker. Chaz Chambliss gained a lot of experience in replacing Nolan Smith. Beyond him though, there are a lot of questions. What does year 2 look like for Marvin Jones Jr., who battled injury for much of his freshman campaign? How quickly can 2023 signees Damon Wilson, Sam Pemba and Gabe Harris make an impact? With all Georgia brings back, it's worth keeping in mind the Bulldogs signed an elite crop of 2023 recruits. Starks and Williams were both early contributors this past season, and it would be pretty fair to expect a few of the young defenders to find their way onto the field. Even the talent leaving is strong. As of this writing, 6 of the Bulldogs who left via the transfer portal have found new homes. All of them will be remaining at Power 5 schools. Norton is off to Arizona. Sherman and Gilbert will play together at Nebraska. Seether follows Buster Faulkner to Georgia Tech. Marshall left for Alabama, while Mitchell heads to Texas. That Marshall left Georgia's talented inside linebacker room to go find more playing time at Alabama speaks to where the talent in that room is at this point. The same can be said for Seether and Gilbert leaving Georgia's uber-talented tight end room. Of those that left, only Mitchell could be considered a starting-level player this past season. While he won't be easy to replace, Georgia is already well accustomed to life without the talented wide receiver as he missed 9 games last season due to an ankle injury. It will be worth watching which players consider entering the transfer portal for Georgia after spring practice. A year ago, we saw Amarius Mims enter the portal only for him to ultimately elect to remain at Georgia. Tymon Mitchell did leave Georgia during that same period and went on to become a key piece on TCU's team. Surely, a player will do something similar following spring practice, which does not have a publicly announced date yet. But given what we've seen from Georgia in recent years, it is safe to say those that stay are clearly among the best in the country if they do. If you made it this far, thank you, but don't forget to subscribe and like.